So hello guys, welcome back to another video. So for this session we want to create this. So we want to create these scrollable cards that they are scrolling on the right side here, and we're going to be using Quasar. And the video I made earlier, so what you're doing with it is the video I made earlier, I showed you how to make data dynamic. So once we create this card, the concept is just the same. Okay, so how you go about making a dynamic is just the same. As you can see here, we have a transparent card. Down here we have another card that is also transparent, and that is it. So don't worry about the way my screen is moving. It's because I'm doing a lot of customization, so yours should not do that, so not to worry. And at the top here we have this scrollable here. No, I don't know if I'm going to create this. I want to make this video as short as possible. I don't want to bore everybody with all this stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I like to do is I like to open up my page. So my home page, I just create a project and open up my home page. This is where I get to do all the fun stuff. And whenever I save, this code is generated automatically, so I don't really have to go back to radsystems and start writing code and clicking publish again. So to do that, to go to your code, you just go back, you go to your where you have your projects. So assuming this is where you have your Node-RED projects, come to the project you want to create, go to frontend, then go to source here, and you want to go to pages. Then you can just come to home here and open this using Sublime Text. So I'm using Sublime Text for my situation. All right, now let's go back to Sublime Text and let's go back here. So I'm just going to split my screens in halves so that I can do that. So I'm just going to delete everything here, and if I save, click on Control S, you'll notice that this is also taking effect. So you also notice that it's going to go away there. So as you can see, there's nothing right about there. So now we want to make that happen. Now, as we build this, you also learn some stuff. What you're going to learn is a few things. Okay. So now the very first thing we're going to do, so we want to create a card that is scrolling to the left. Okay, so that is a scroll X. So that is a class we call scroll X. So let's go ahead and create a div and give it a class which is going to be scroll X. There's also scroll Y, but for this situation we want it to scroll to the left, so we want it to be a scroll X. So make sure you close it. So this is how I like aligning my work. So also don't forget the comments. We can say cards add here. Then you can also come back here, copy this and go here and say cards start here. But this is not really the card, this is basically the container of the class. So you can say cards container. Yep, so we got that. Now also come back here and say cards container. So now I'll give you a short story about myself. I really hated doing the front end. Okay, personally I thought it was boring, but then came Quasar. So Quasar, the reason why I had to look into Quasar is because now radsystems forced me to do it, because you see radsystems is using Quasar framework. So I had to do Quasar framework and study it. So what I did, it took me only 1 month to learn Quasar. It's very easy. The front end part is very easy, and the fun part is that you don't really have to write your own CSS unless it's really necessary for you to write it. So what we're going to do here is look at how we can actually use Quasar without writing your CSS. So whatever code you write here, you can use it in all your other projects. All right, now let's go ahead and create another div, which is a class, and this is going to be a row. Now if you haven't done HTML, so what a row is, HTML Bootstrap definitely, what a row is, if you have these data here, okay, let's just have it there. So if you have a data that is running out like this, So if you look at this, so this is a column, a row and a column. So if you want your data to appear something like let's look for something. You want your data to appear left here. So this is also a row, and this is also a row that has not been defined. If you want your data to appear like this is a row. If you want your data to appear right on the left side of these cards, it's you also consider a row. Now inside a row, that's where we write our div class, which we say call md12. Okay, now these call md12, you close it, or let's say call these sizes of the screen go all the way up to 12. So if you want them to appear side by side, you can divide them accordingly. So if I want these to be inside my row and appear side to side with the div class, then that basically means I will have two divs. You can say control copy and have another div have another div of div class, which will be call sm6. This is called, you can have call md6 for larger devices, but because I'm working on a smaller device here, I can have a call sm6. So you can just come here and say call sm6 and say call 6. Then I can write something here like hi, and then write something else here like hi for emphasis. Okay, now if we save that, we can look and see how this data is going to be arranged. Okay, so now you see this is here and this is also here. So what would happen if we removed the row? Okay, so you can just try it and see what would actually happen if you remove the row. So the changes are really not going to be that different, but as you can see, they are going to appear at the bottom here. So that is what a row is, and I hope that maybe I have actually helped you learn what a row is. So all right, so now whenever we are going to be working with this, we definitely now know what we are going to be looking at. Now what do we want to do? So what we want to do now is create a card. You create a card in Quasar, not really a card, but an image. So remember how our images look like. So we are going to create a Q image, and source is going to be, let's go and look for an image here. So generally this is what I've been doing. I've been searching for some Pinterest images so that we can actually just visualize our data. All right, let's take, for example, what do we take? So picky with this. All right. Yeah, we can take I'm still undecided. I want something that will blend in with the images just fine, so that we can actually see whenever we decide to use a transparent image. All right, let's try and use this. So copy image address. So the source is going to be here. So come here and paste that image there. So we're going to say that and say that. So if we go back to our app, we are expecting to see an image right about here. Okay. Hey, show me the image. So if it doesn't load, you have to hardly load that. Now, let's see what we get. All right. So we should get some image there. So we have this image right about here, but we need this image to be in a div class, which will be with a column. So we said, so we can say call sm12 call 12. So these small ones as for the small devices. Now if you need this to be 12 in a larger screen, you have to do column medium. So you say call medium 12, And if you need a very large screen, you can say call LG 12. All right. Now, remember, we are only engulfing the image inside this div, so we have to say save. Okay. So we can save that. So it's going to take the entire of the screen, the image. So we are good to go. Now, the scroll X makes us have to scroll these like that. But now, as you can see, it's not really working because we are having these in the same containers I had done before. So let's go ahead and do that. So now, if you remember when we are starting the video, we had a card inside here. Now, that card, we add them inside the image. So this is not something you can do in Bootstrap. So these are some of the fun things you can do with Quasar. So we come in here and create a div class. So don't worry about that class. We're going to fill it, and we close this div so that we don't mess our stuff up. Now, inside this div, we now need to create another card. So we go ahead and create a card. We say qcard class is going to be equal to my card, and then I'm going to add a shadow. So I can just add a shadow, but instead of that adding a shadow, we'll do insert shadow down. So this is a class in Quasar. You can read the documentation. So then let's close this card. So this is the inner card that we're going to be having. Now inside this inner card, we can have another div class, and now give this class to be text bold. Okay, now text bold basically means that your text is going to be a little bit darker and then a little bit thicker. So we can have a text h6. So this is like a h1 or h2 in Bootstrap. So we're going to have h6. Okay, and then you can give this text some color. You can say text dark. We want our text to be dark. Okay, now close our div. So we want to write some content here. So we can say, hello there, this card is about to work. All right, now if we save our work, let's see what we have so far. So if you see here, we have this div class at the top here, but this class was not at the top. It's at the bottom. Now, remember the div class we engulfed the qcard with. So you come here and say absolute bottom. So we want to add this absolute bottom so that this card floats at the bottom here, the bottom of our image. Awesome. Now if you look carefully, we now have this card floating at the bottom of the image here. Now notice how this text is kind of starting from where the card is starting. So we don't want that. So we go to the div class which has our title, and we do we say q padding. Now this is padding left. We want it to be large. So it can be large, it can be whatever you feel like you want. It's generally the same. But so now you'll notice that now the text has gone somewhere to the center there. You can also say padding to the right. You can say q padding right, which now we can say maybe something like small. Then we can say q padding bottom. No, q padding bottom, which we can say large. So if we expand this, you can have a look at how this text is going to be looking like. So that is what we have. But in case you don't need those, it's okay. Now we can do a q padding top. We can say q padding top. You can say small. Let's have a small there. Excuse me. All right, now we have that. Now we need these text to have a capital letter every time they start, but we don't have to be the ones doing that. So we can say text capitalize. So we have text capitalize. Now save that. Notice how this is going to change. So as you can see, all these starting with a capital letter. Each word is starting with a capital letter. Awesome. Now, as you can see, there's a dark background here. Okay, we can get rid of that dark background, or we can still keep the dark background and have this card go transparent. So you can go to cards, and in the class of the q card, you can say transparent, like that. then save this card. So if you save it, you're going to notice that now we have that. You can change this text from dark to white so that you can see it. All right, so there you go, you can see your card there. But now we need to change this card from H6 to H5 because H6 is a little bit small, so we can have this being a little bit bigger like that. Nice. Now let's not make our card transparent because we'll be doing that later, and make this div class that is showing in darker here to be the transparent one. So we can say transparent, something like that. I hope I'm not really fast, but I have to be fast because we don't want to make this video very fast, very slow, so, or longer. So let's make this dark again. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is add a Q chip. Now a Q chips I'm going to show you what I mean, but now before we do that, we now need to create a new row inside our card. So let's come down here and create a row. So we can say div class, because we now need to add something else. We can say div class row and make sure you close it there. Then inside here you can have a span, not really a span, you can have a Q chip. You can say Q chip here, which we can go ahead and say Wahome Mutahi, yes, there you go. Now if you save that, we expect to be having a Q chip right at the bottom of our headline. So let's see. Awesome, so there we go. But now we might need to now make this Q chip not be really so close to the bottom there, and by that we go ahead and do a Q padding bottom, which is going to be small. We do it inside the row we just created. So there you go. So the card is now a little bit higher. You can also make a Q padding left, so it's a Q padding left, and say we also want it to be small. Now if you save that, let's wait for this to be published, and we are, yeah, there you go. Now if you don't need this to be round like this, you can just go to Q chip and say here square. So we are going to be having it a square like that, something, yeah, like that. Then if you need to change its color, you just need to come here and say color is equals to warning, something like that. So the warning is going to be yellowish. Okay, so there we go. Now the text, if you want to do the text, you can do a class is equals to text white, something like class is equals to text white, something like that. So this is going to change this text from black to white. So there you go, you have it, but we don't really need it. This was just for takeaways. All right, now the next thing you might need to do is to now add something that was at the top here, which was a card. So how do we do that? You can just put it anywhere or inside the row. So come here and create a div class. Okay, now inside this div class, let's have the date. We can say 22nd June 2021, something like that. What is Jubwe? Let's have June like that. So save that, and you also notice where this is going to be appearing at. So our date is not really appearing because our class as to text is white, so you can say text dark. So once we make the text dark, now we can actually see that text. There you go, now we have it. But now we don't want it to be here, we want it to be right here. But before we do that, let me now introduce you to another class called onWrite. Now if you come here and do onWrite, it's going to create a space between this Q chip, one we created, and then the data. You see now your code has gone a little bit far away, the date. So now what we want to do is to make this float at the top here without having to take this code and pasting it somewhere on top there. So we go here and say, just get rid of this and say absolute top right. Okay, so once we load that code, let's see where we get it. There you go. Now you have this card, this data appearing at the top here. So what we want to do is to add some padding. So you can say q padding top, say small, q padding right, say small also. Then you can say q padding bottom, which now you can make large. So now we have this a little bit. We want to have it independent. Okay, so there you go. So we have it floating there. But now as you can see, it's entwining with the one we had created earlier. So for that, you can just go ahead to where we have our this code and do q padding top to be large. All right, now there you go. So you have this appearing right there. Now we might bottom, we can make it small like that, so that we give it room for an underline. All right, now the next thing you might need to do here is what that was already in our code, which was a q chip. So you come here and do a q chip like that. Not really a q chip, sorry, q separator like that, and that's going to be like that. So let's see what we get. There you can see it's a little bit there. So bottom, let's make it large for the sake of the q separator. So the q separator, you can add a color. So you can say color of the line is going to be red. Now save that. There you go. So now we have it appearing like there. So these edges of the card, the edges of this card, they are not really the way they were in the code I showed you. So we are going to add a style to our card. So let's go to our cards and say style is going to be equal to border radius, which is going to be like 20 pixels. So let's give it 20 pixels. So save that. So now you see our card is a little bit nice, if you ask me. So let's add this to be a little bit copy. Also paste it here. So save. We want to have some more data in there, but not really literally a lot of it. All right, so we have that. So we have this card with this style. So the same style we have, we want to also make the image have the same style. So let's go to the image here and let's give it a style. So I also want it to be having a border radius of 20 pixels. Awesome. So there we go. Now what is remaining now is to make this card not really float at the end, and that we do that by going to the card here and add a class which is going to be equals to q padding left, give it a small. So let's see. Oh, all right, yeah, I kind of messed that up. So it's not only the image you do, is this row. So you come here, q padding left, you can give it small. So if this doesn't work, you try now the one that is on top there, but this should be just fine. There you go. So we have now this image just about in there. Now let's go ahead and add a new image. So adding a new image should not be something very complicated. You can just do it on your own. But before that, let's try and make this card transparent. So let's go to where we have our Q card. Let's go to our Q card, make it transparent. Okay, and save that. So as you can see now, our card is transparent, but we now want our text to be white. Make our text white so it can be seen. Right now you can't really tell that this is a card because it has no borders. So to add a border, let's go to where we have our Q card again, and right about here make it bordered like that. Save this. and you'll notice that now we have something like, yeah, as you can see, there's a card in between there, but you can't really see it because it's not really white. So let's come here and also make this white. But there's a card in there, you can't just really see it that well. So maybe if you add a class which maybe bg gray, you might spot it. Alright, so there's a problem with the bg gray, but let's reload that. So there's a card there, it's transparent, only that you can't really tell it because the background is not really blending it right in perfectly, but it's there. Alright, so moving on. So sorry about that. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Also, there's a card called flat. So if you have a flat card, it's not really going to be showing the shadows and all that stuff, but it's just going to be fine. Just going to be showing fine. Okay, so it's not going to show because this is set to transparent. Okay, so let's have it going just the way we want, and let's return our text to black, to dark, and dark. Awesome. Now we want to make this card, also this image, to be having a shadow. So let's go to where we have our image, and let's create a class, and let's give this a shadow 24. So this image should be having a shadow here. And then before now, we can't really see the shadow because this div, as you can see, there's no space for us to see the shadow. So what you do is you come here and do a Q padding bottom, and you want this to be extra large. We want it to be extra large. So check this out at the bottom here. As you can see, now we have some space right about there. Great. Now we need to have more cards so that we can see it scrolling. Now remember, we talked about rows. Now this div class has to be inside the row. So what you do is you copy this up to where we have the div class, you copy it up to where we have the div, copy this up to where we have the div, that is it, copy, and paste this inside there, paste this inside there. Now let's save our work, and we should be having more than one image, so we have this. So that basically means that now we have it working just fine. The only problem is that they are not scrolling to the side. Now to fix that, you go to where you created your row. Remember, we have a scroll X already, and we have a row. Now there's something called no wrap. Now the no wrap basically means once the space is filled up, okay, without the wrap, once the space is filled up, or the space that is being taken in the device, once it's filled up, it automatically goes below the other one. Now the no wrap basically means that once that space is filled up, it can go all the way to the end of the screen. Now that is why we introduce the no wrap. So the no wrap and the scroll X allow us to scroll on the left, and the no wrap means that now you can scroll all those cards the way they are displayed. Now if we save our no wrap here, you should now notice a change. Now these images will be aligned differently. Now as you can see, you have now those images aligning like that. Now if you notice that they're too close to each other, and we don't want that, so you come back, you can go to the first image where you have this div, and you can say Q padding right to be small. So if you save that, and there you go, so you have this space looking in like that. You can go ahead and do the same thing to all of them. You can copy this, come here, just do the same thing, and save your work. And there you go. So we have these very nice looking images scrolling like that. And yeah, so that will be it, guys. Hope you had fun. See you in the next one.